Yes guys, what's going on? It's been a while since I kind of touched base with you lot. So now that all the races are out of the way, I think it's time that I look after my body and start to learn a lot more about the biomechanics and the ins and outs of actually how the body works in terms of getting ready to run and what the stress of running actually does on the body. So today I'm heading to the running room and I'm linking up with physio Adrian, and he's going to sort me out. We're going to be learning. He's going to be showing me some things, some tips of how to keep my body nice and healthy and also how to run efficiently. So I don't want to spill too many beans because I want it to be a bit of a treat for you guys, but I hope you enjoy it. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, you know all the jazz, and I'll catch you guys in a little while. So I've literally just arrived. It was only about a 10-minute walk from the Foxhall station, so an absolute treat and a cheeky little warm up, so let's go inside. To go on there. So this is going to be really interesting, really cool experience. I don't really know what to expect, but I'm super excited.
Hey guys, my name's Adrian. I'm a physio here at R&D in the running room. So what we've got here is we've got an elite level running service and a running assessment rather. So we have a treadmill which has a pressure plate that's installed underneath the belt of the treadmill. So what that does is it gives us a reading on what's happening underneath someone's foot, so we can see how hard someone's hitting the ground, what part of their foot hits the ground, and we can see that per square centimeter. So we can see that to a really fine level of detail. So if you've got an injury on your metatarsals or the outside of your foot, for example, we can see how you might be offloading. Or if you have a plantar fascia issue, we can see that. But not only that, we can start to see also how you use your calf, your Achilles, your ground contact time, the force you put through each leg and through each stride. And we combine that with two high-speed cameras behind and to the side. And then what we can get from there is we can start to see a really nice 3D motion capture as well. So we can start to map things out like your overstride. How much are you overstriding? What does that overstride look like side to side? What does it look like when you're in the middle of your stance, and then what do you look like when you're powering through and you're trying to get that power and that toe off for your next stride. So overall we can have a look at things all the way from injury management, injury prevention, but also performance. If you're trying to go sub 3 hours or sub 2:30 or your first marathon or whatever your PB is, we can help you out with that.
Okay.
Typically roughly going to go through the line of your hips. I'll just straighten out this line. And you want to see where your body is landing in relation to the center of your mass, right? And ideally if we, say at the elite level, if we go like Kipchoge, for example, his landing point is going to be pretty much bang on, close to the center of his mass, so under the body, and then pulling through and working through. Mm-hmm. So what we want to see is what is the line and the angle that you're creating at this stage. And we're looking to see what we call the tibial angle, so the angle that's created between your knee and your ankle. So at that point, I'll just get these measures in. So trying to see what that angle that you're creating. And you can see how this angle here is like slightly slanting forwards. If you want to be like really technical, it's like an obtuse angle. Mm-hmm. And ideally you want to be closer to it being vertical. So what we want is we call that a vertical shin line in technical terms. So the better you are to a vertical shin line, you're going to be in a more advantageous position for your muscles to actually get more engaged. So what I was saying is as a young athlete, the thing that you need is you need time off. It doesn't matter if you're a runner, it doesn't matter if you're a footballer. If you're doing the same thing over and over again between the ages of 13 and 18, that's your developmental time, that's when your bone is growing. After about 2, maybe 3 months of doing the same thing, say football, say running, doesn't matter what it is, your bone will stop adapting. It has no need to adapt. Bone likes a change in adaptation. So if you have an off season, you go, say a runner, and you had an off season, you go play football for 3 months, all of a sudden your bone gets excited and goes, oh, this is really nice, and it gets stiffer, it gets stronger, it gets more dense, and then you go back to running, and that actually helps out. When we find people picking up stress fractures, which is like one of the biggest things that young runners pick up, is the fact that besides other things like, you know, for ladies like menstrual stuff and hormonal stuff and all the things and diet, like those things are important, but in terms of actual biomechanics and your biology, is that change of adaptation, the bone just gets brittle, and then you pick up a stress fracture because there's no change, the bone doesn't have to adapt as much. That's why something like strength training on top of your running is really good, because at least you're doing a little bit to counteract it, but you still probably need to take some time off that. Like, and they're finding that athletes that specialize early in life are the ones who pick up more injuries anyways. So yeah, it's a tricky one, isn't it? Because like at some point people are going to go, well, you can see you can get money out of this and you want to specialize, you want to get better, but trying to find that balance between getting better, taking a break.
You've got to find it.
Yeah, and I think like you also got to think about like the enjoyment you have to it. You might really like something, but if you do it like 8 times a week, and then you might start to lose the passion, because you start to see like this is more of starts to become less of a hobby and something you like and more of a job. And
yeah,
you know,
actually enjoyment.
You see so many young athletes just go, I don't want to be a footballer, I don't want to be running anymore. I've been running 8 times a week for all these years, and then I'm done now.
That's it.
You know, would have had a lot of potential, but just got pushed down the wrong avenue. So,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So once again, you can see mid-foot, and then as you come through, you're not getting, like if you look at this side here as you're towing off now,
Yeah.
if you think about how hot your left foot was in terms of getting power, you're not even getting those hot
it's
spots
hardly
here.
any
Like
power
there's a little
at
bit
all.
here, once again on the outside, which is not ideal, but you're not generating nowhere near as much sort of heat on that side as you are. So there's a possibility here, whether it's a quad thing, I'm not sure. We'll have to do a strength assessment here to find out exactly how the strength is marrying up to the running. But there's a possibility of, rather there's a strong link here to show that the right side is just being a little bit lazy compared to the left side.
Yeah. And do you know what? It does feel a bit lazy as well, to be honest. I feel like I have to work a little bit harder on the right side to pull it through. So yeah, definitely.
Hip. Nice hip dip. I mean, your trousers, your shorts probably tell you enough there, hey?
Yeah,
And
definitely.
then you sort of work through, so you got that motion where you sort of like a little bit side to side, which you can be a little bit more neutral.
Okay.
So you want to think about like keeping energy in your system and trying to leak as little energy as possible. So if you have better stability through your lateral hip, potentially core and back and everything around there, and that's going to make sure that you just turn over and you're not leaking by coming across. Because the moment you go across, then your body has to recover, pull you back into play to then power through. And then that energy there, compounded over say 42 kilometers if you run a marathon, could be the distance between running 301 or 258.
Yeah, definitely.
This is your center of pressure butterfly. So this is telling us like every time you make contact with the ground, then you toe off, you make contact on your left side, this is the imprint of your shoe. Tells us overall like what that symmetry is side to side. So you can see you're slightly skewed towards leaning to your right a little bit bit heavier on your right, whether that's coming towards being, having the previous injury. But even still, that's negligible. I'm just, we're just nitpicking a little bit, but I'm not worried about that. That's more or less bang on that sort of y-axis there.
Yeah.
So that's okay. Not as heavy on the outside of your foot. You can see the pressure spots are starting to drop down. Starting to potentially maybe get a little bit more on the inside, but it's not dramatic just yet. So that's probably where we need to start cueing the big toe, maybe looking at calf strength a bit more in detail and see what the capacity of your calf is, what the plyometric explosivity and that sort of your plyometric strength is like, your jump height's like. Another cue, right? I'm not going to give you that cue today, because if I give you anything more than one cue, the running goes to shit.
Yeah.
It's hard enough trying to learn how to keep one cue going, then you go, okay, I got to think about cadence, and I got to think about this, and then it's just too much. So, like always, if there's any advice I could give anyone, is like whenever you're trying to implement a cue, one cue, nail it, 2 months, and then try another cue on top of that. Don't try and do 2 things concurrently. It doesn't work effectively. You're not going to make the changes you want to make from it. Forces, more or less very similar. So your initial run, anything, you're getting a little bit more force now coming through your legs on these runs here. So not only are you taking shorter strides, but you're able to get more force. And it comes back to kind of what I was saying, is that you're not having to stride out as much, so you have more time for your body to live potentially in mid-range. Get that power push through.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely felt that, to be honest.
Yeah, you just feel like you're more in control, right?
Yeah.
And if you're in control, then you can dictate and guide and steer your run the way you want it to be, rather than just trying to keep up.
Yeah, definitely. So with the cadence, it takes say 2 to 3.
Yeah, so any cueing, like whether you're trying to learn cadence cue, you're trying to learn how to toe off better, whatever cue your coach has given you, it takes a good sort of a couple months, sometimes longer, for you to start to learn that. Not only just the ability to do it, but for your brain to do it automatically, and that sort of like motor cortex in your brain for it to relay a new blueprint, right? So it's what we call neuroplasticity. Your brain is willing to learn a new pattern of movement, but that doesn't happen overnight. That happens through repetition, where it starts to then reprogram the movement. So that's not going to happen in a week or 2 weeks. It takes 2 to 3 months, and that's at any level, whether it's elite level, everyday level. So don't give up on changes. Don't try and make changes on top of changes, because sometimes people will make a cadence cue and they go, oh, I'm going from 160 to 168, and then 2 weeks later they go, I'm going to try 180 now. It's just like, nah, man, you haven't even learned the 168. So yeah, just gotta try and just take things easy. So like normally I'd say like give it 3 to 6 months, take it through a competition if you want to, see how it feels. You don't always have to go to 180. Like you got to ask yourself, why do you want to go there as well? So some people, they might just learn how to run fast and get better at a lower cadence. Once again, like depends on how old they are, how tall they are, different factors. So you just have to make sure you got to ask yourself, why am I making these changes? Are you just doing it because someone on Instagram's doing it, or are you doing it because you genuinely need to do it?
Exactly. But I'll take my little improvements from from there. Literally, that was a little 5-minute fix, but it is really important to take time with it and just learn and grow as you go on.
Sure.
Right, okay, so Adrian, just to wrap, I want you to give the people 3 pieces of advice or 3 tips to either help them get quicker or to help them stay in one piece.
Yeah, for sure.
Right.
Cool, so I would say tip number 1 is understand your ability and understand your time frames, right? So if you are trying to get quicker, be realistic as to how quick you can get over what period of time. So if you're trying to get a 5K quicker in like 4 weeks, be realistic as to how much quicker you can get. You're not going to be able to do something that will require 12, 16 weeks of effort or half a year or a year. So that's the first thing there, is just be realistic. Second thing is, if you're starting off as a runner, do some strength work, because your body will need it to keep up with the running itself. So if you think about your body like a car, and running is your, obviously your vehicle, your car, you're not going to drive from here to the top of the UK or Scotland without filling fuel in it. And that's what strength work is. Strength is the fuel that goes into your car, that keeps you going, that keeps you turning over, that allows you to get faster and put more pressure and force into your body. So make sure you have a strength program, or at least doing some strength work that complements it. It's not doing fancy stuff like standing on one leg, doing single leg squats and balancing and watching things on Instagram because it looks cool. But it's about doing really simple fundamental things like working on Romanian deadlifts, squats, split squats like lunges, your fundamental movement patterns. The importance of strength work is to push some weight and to work at an intensity that gets your body getting stronger. Doing the other stuff may give you some stability, but will not give you as much strength as getting better at maybe doing a back squat, for example. And the third thing is get your training program loaded the right way. So make sure that you're understanding what you're doing in week 1 and how much you're increasing that by. There's no formula like you have to do it by 10% or 5%. So if you need coaching, I'd say get coaching. It's always the best way to go about it, because 90% of running related injuries happens because of training errors. So if you want to make sure your training's on point, get some coaching, get some help.
Wicked, thank you. So I just want to say a huge thank you to Adrian for inviting me down. Had an amazing session, of unpicking my body, my running mechanics. And yeah, man, I'm really looking forward to working with him in the future. So make sure you keep watching the space for what we might be pulling out in the future. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed that video. Don't forget to like, comment and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Peace and love.